It's like the last conversation me and my dad had, because he called after my mother had passed, and I haven't talked to him in years. And he left me a voicemail telling me, well, you won't talk to me no more, so I'm just calling to check up on you. Well, I'll see you later. And the reason why he said it like that is because there's going to be a time coming to where I'm going to pass away too, and you just might feel bad. No, Reverend, I will not feel bad. All right, that's the next phone call I'm waiting for. Okay, as cold as that may sound. But I had to pause because I was getting ready to go down a rabbit hole that is way too dark.
That on his last day, that she's gonna call me and she's gonna take me. No, you ain't taking me no place. You ain't taking me no place. Where your father is dying. You know what I would tell her? I would tell her, you don't want me there. And if she asks me, how come you don't want, why would you say something like that? I said, because if I do go, I'm only gonna sit there and be joyous in seeing this motherfucker die. Now you can say that's evil. I don't give a damn what you say about it. It's joyous to me to see evil diminish. Yeah, I agree. The only favor he can give me is when you leave this earth, motherfucker, look me in my eyes when you do it. I want to see your eyes when you die, nigga.
You want to see the light?
I want to see you die. I want you to look me right in my face before you leave this motherfucker. I want you to see why you going to that hell. I want you to know that I wanted your ass up out of here. I want that to be the last thing you see. My son was waiting for me to die. Take that with you, motherfucker. That's what I want you to take with you. Wherever you going, heaven or hell, take that with you. And you did that to me. This is what you left me with to deal with. And I love you for it. And I love you due to the fact because you made it very easy for me to accept your death. You made it very easy. I ain't gonna grieve for you, motherfucker. I'm gonna celebrate.
Considering what has been going on lately in terms of my mother's passing and my dad suddenly reaching out to me during that time element of where he knew that my mother had passed, he chose that particular time to reach out to me, to call himself checking up on me, which to me is just deception. That's what it is. It's called deception, and utilizing my mother's death as an opportunity to try to communicate with me. However, by knowing him so well, and by me cutting him off and letting him go, I'm fully aware of why he chose that particular time to reach out. And what he said to me, as the video said before, he said, well, I'll see you later. You know, let me tell you something. A lot of people talk about demonic forces and where they lie. And I would have to tell a lot of people to where you have to be very careful of where those demonic forces are actually present. It's not in a whole lot of people who you have grown to dislike. Sometimes it's within the people who are the closest in your life, like your parents. And in my case, it has definitely been there. But what I have learned through this experience is that, as I used to always say, and as I still say this day, life is not, life is everything of how you choose to respond to it or react to it. Considering everything that I've been through with both of my parents, I've come to find out that when you have two parents who are demonic and they send you through a lot of abusive related experiences, how you choose to respond to it is very important, because if you choose to respond to it in a way to where your intellect becomes a deceptive tool in order to justify this rising hate that they put inside of you, they put you in the position to where you will eventually fall morally into a very deep and dark abyss. So what my video had demonstrated before this one is when I was actually getting ready to go there, you know, saying, I'm waiting for your phone call. I'm waiting for your phone call. That's the hatred that people who are very close to you, they will imbue that hatred inside of you based upon the way that they treated you and based upon your perception of what is immoral towards you. And there is a intelligence that is in fact deceptive, even though it makes total sense to you because it's logical. I should feel this way. I should say these things. However, when you get manipulated like that, and your love and therefore your hatred is being used in order to manipulate you into becoming exactly what you said that you hated the most in the world. And what happens is the people who abuse you will put so much hatred inside of you to where you will react and you will respond in a way to where you become a worser demonstration to yourself than the people who demonstrated the hate towards you. So that's the dark rabbit hole that I was talking about. You cannot become a more greater evil than the evil that other people have demonstrated towards you. Because you will find yourself in a very deep, dark abyss. And every time those thoughts come to you of where you need to become better, there's a deceptive intelligence that always comes about to where it convinces you that this hatred that has been put inside of you and your self-destructive response to it is justified, and you should remain here. You should remain feeling and thinking the way that you are currently thinking by the results of how you were treated of the past by people who were very close to you. So it's like where there is a tremendous hate, the majority of the time that is rooted out of a tremendous love that you had for people. So people who you love tremendously will betray you and provoke a very intense hate inside of you. And your level of intelligence, it seems like it's fair seeming. However, the results of that level of intelligence is a form of self-destruction, because where that reasoning or justification of this feeling of hatred toward these people, whether it's towards them or anything, this state of hatred is only going to send you into a dark abyss to where you really don't belong. So basically what I'm saying is the enemy is not those who abuse you. When you go through things as I went through, you in time come to realize that the enemy is sitting up inside of you, who spoke this deceptive intelligence inside of you and convinced you that this hatred that was provoked of you by those who carry a demonic and immoral actions towards you is justified. And then as soon as you say, I feel this way, I hate them because of thus and so, that throws you into this dark abyss that is going to take you years to come out of. Because the justification of the way that you think and the way that you feel is your particular prison. So everything is us as human beings, as individuals. And this is the power. A lot of people say forgiveness. No, you don't have to forgive anybody. You just have to let them go and let go of everything in which they've done to you. No matter how much it hurts, you have to let it go. Because if you hold on to it, even emotionally or even intellectually, it's going to eventually destroy you. So don't become the hate that was demonstrated towards you, because due to the fact that you are a victim of it, because once you hold on to it, it's going to become a much greater hate than the people who deliberately did it to you. And the reason why it's going to become an even more powerful hate is because not only because you were the victim, but you know better. And if you know better, the Creator expects better from you. So when you know better, we have to do better on every aspect of our being. So that's why in my other video, when I was talking that way about my father, I said, uh-oh, I'm getting ready to go down that dark abyss, which I call a rabbit hole. And that's a very dark place to exist. That's a very dark place to exist. And it seems like during the time through your hurt, we are manipulated to think that the way that we're thinking and the way that we're feeling is correct when it's really not. It's not good for the soul. It's really not good for the soul. You, even though you've let go of the people who hurt you, you have to let go of the pain that they caused you as well. Because if you don't let go of the pain, a lot of people say, well, you have to forgive them. You don't have to do nothing. You just have to let them go. And you have to let go of the pain in which they caused you. Purge yourself of the pain that they caused you and its effects, because it's only going to affect you. So when it all boils down to it, you have to see yourself as your own worst enemy and as and even your savior. Because it's not what people do to you, it's how we choose to respond to it. That's what it all boils down to. So don't allow people to convince you to destroy yourself simply because they are of the dead. It's like when Yeshua and the disciples were getting ready to start their venture. I believe it was Peter who came up to him and said, Master, I have to go back home to my family so that I can bury my father. Yeshua had told him, suffer it be so. You let the dead bury their dead. Suffer it be so. Why did he say that? Because of the attachments, not only physically, but to common tradition of burying your parents. You have to let all of that go. And let the dead bury their dead. Those who are on that same level as your father, you have to let the dead bury their dead and follow me. You just have to move forward. No attachments. But at the same time, don't let what people did to you put you in the position mentally, intellectually, and emotionally that you destroy yourself by becoming so overcome with anger and rage and hatred towards them that you become worse than those who hurt you. Don't become worse than those who hurt you. Don't get trapped inside of the abyss. Just let them go and just move forward. And a whole lot of people are not going to agree with you, but who cares? You have to do what's right and best for you. That's all that matters. It's not how people think, well, you have to forgive them. You don't have to do a damn thing. But you must let go of the effects of the evil that they did to you, because that's actually what they leave behind. That's the legacy that they leave behind. What they did to you and how it made you think and how it made you feel. Because the way that it made you think, it transmits into how you feel, and due to the fact that you are a moral person and you perceive what they did to you was so immoral and so outrageous and so disgraceful, it hits you emotionally and this hatred builds up inside of you. And then there's that deceptive intelligence that justifies all of that, of why you should feel that way and why you should never let go of that. You have to hold on to it. You don't have to hold on to it, because it's like holding on to this fire behind you. You have to let it go, because as long as you hold on to it, you're causing your own pain. You have to let it go. And letting it go, focus on the it. Let it go. See, the it is trying to leave, but the reason why it can't is because you keep holding on to it. So this is the reason why people say, let it go, allow it. to go and allow it to lead. And begin your healing. Begin your healing. Because I began mine. I began mine. I've let both my parents go. And even though my dad is currently living, when he passes on, I'm not going to be in any way involved. It's like the most abusive parents are the ones that want you to honor them when they don't deserve any honor. Now here's a pastor of a church, and they named the street that his church is sitting on, Reverend Brayboy Drive. And he asked me one day, yeah, they named the street after me. He asked me, he said, did you hear about it? I said, yeah, I heard about it. And he noticed that I'm so proud of you, Dad, and all that. He said, yeah, you heard about it? I'm like, yeah, I heard about it. My whole thing is, if you call yourself a follower of Yeshua, who was not of this world, why in the hell did you allow Babylon to name one of her streets after you? Like my sister calls him the Honorable Reverend Brayboy. Ain't nothing honor about selling out Christ and allowing Babylon to name one of her streets after you. Isn't struggling to be an example of Yeshua's way, isn't that enough? There's nothing honorable about that. But in terms of what you heard before, when I want to see your eyes. I was in the abyss. This is my point. I was in the abyss, and what I was saying and what I was feeling, I was contaminated with an intelligence that was telling me that those thoughts, those words, and those feelings are justified when they are not justified. Because if they were justified, I would not have been suffering. I was suffering. So what you heard was a man who was suffering simply because I had an intelligence inside of me that was contaminated and was deceptive and was telling me that these feelings are justified. And due to the fact that these thoughts and these feelings are justified, you should harbor those feelings. But I was suffering. And at the time, I wasn't given the right understanding that I should let that go. But I due to the fact that the Creator has given me clarity now, it's easy for me to let that go. I don't justify those kind of feelings anymore, because I don't want to walk around feeling like that simply because of a bunch of immoral people caused that seed inside of me. I'm not going to allow it to germinate and grow inside of me anymore. I've let it go. So basically, what this video is telling you, no matter what people do to you and how they make you feel, never become what you hate the most morally. Because due to the fact that you are not on that level, the moment that you allow what these people do to you to cause you to justify a hatred that they put inside of you, that cultivates inside of you, then you become worse than your so-called enemy, because you become an enemy of yourself. So with that being said, I hope this video was understood. I may have to go through this again because I'm kind of distracted tonight on some things, but everyone have a good night. I hope this video was understood. Don't become your own worst enemy by people who you thought were your primary enemy, because when it all boils down to it, We are our own worst enemy. It's us. It's not this devil that is floating around, this mythical devil that is floating around and telling us to think and feel a certain way. Because the Creator said, I created good, I created evil. I, the Lord, created all these things. I created peace and I created war. I've created these. Which one are you going to choose? Well, I create peace. And I create goodness. And even though I choose goodness and not evil, I've let go of evil and I've let go of the warfare. That's basically what I'm trying to say. But with all that being said, everyone have a good night. The enemy is not those who abuse you. When you go through things as I went through, you in time come to realize that the enemy is sitting up inside of you, who spoke this deceptive intelligence inside of you and convinced you that this hatred that was provoked of you by those who carry a demonic and immoral actions towards you is justified. And then as soon as you say, I feel this way, I hate them because of thus and so, that throws you into this dark abyss that is going to take you years to come out. Because the justification of the way that you think and the way that you feel is your particular prison. So everything is us. as human beings, as individuals. Even though you let go of the people who hurt you, you have to let go of the pain that they caused you as well. Because if you don't let go of the pain, a lot of people say, well, you have to forgive them. You don't have to do nothing. You just have to let them go. And you have to let go of the pain which they caused you. Purge yourself of the pain that they caused you and its effects, because it's only going to affect you. So when it all boils down to it, you have to see yourself as your own worst enemy and as and even your savior. Because it's not what people do to you, it's how we choose to respond to it. That's what it all boils down to. So don't allow people to convince you to destroy yourself simply because they are of the dead. When Yeshua and the disciples were getting ready to start their venture, I believe it was Peter who came up to him and said, Master, I have to go back home to my family so that I can bury my father. Yeshua had told him, suffer it be so. And you let the dead bury their dead. Suffer it be so. Why did he say that? Because of the attachments, not only physically, but to common tradition of burying your parents. You have to let all that go. And let the dead bury their dead. Those who are on that same level as your father, you have to let the dead bury their dead and follow him. You just have to move forward. No attachments. But at the same time, don't let what people did to you put you in a position mentally, intellectually, and emotionally that you destroy yourself by becoming so overcome with anger and rage and hatred towards them that you become worse than those who hurt you. The most abusive parents are the ones that want you to honor them when they don't deserve any honor. Now here's a pastor of a church, and they named the street that his church is sitting on Reverend Brayboy Drive. And he asked me one day, yeah, they named the street after him. He asked me, he said, did you hear about it? I said, yeah, I heard about it. And he noticed that I'm so proud of you, Dad, and all that. He said, yeah, you heard about it? I'm like, yeah, I heard about it. My whole thing is, if you call yourself a follower of Yeshua, who was not of this world, why in the hell did you allow Babylon to name one of her streets after you? Like my sister calls him the honorable Reverend Brayboy. Ain't nothing honor about selling out Christ and allowing Babylon to name one of her streets after you. This is a response to my previous video as well as the preview. and I'm going to touch on some things on the last portion of the beginning of this video. As I said before, and as what many of you have already known through self-observation, when we feel as though someone wronged us, the way that we perceive that something is done to us was wrong, it means you have a clear perception of what morality is because of something that has done to you that you perceive as immoral. So we're dealing with we're still dealing with duality, good and evil. We're still dealing with that. But at the same time, you have people say, well, you shouldn't judge, which is a contradiction. That's a contradiction, because what's the point of knowing what is good and what is evil? However, no matter what you go through, you are not placed in the position, after knowing what is good and evil, to be able to judge what is good and evil when something is done to your person. That doesn't make any sense at all. And there are some things in the scripture I just totally ignore. Because to me, they are not realistic, and therefore they are not logical. Now, people can say, well, we all have our different opinions of what is logical and what is not. That's true. And you have your right to assume what is logical or illogical in terms of you as an individual. But me as an individual, the only way that I am able to recognize that something immoral has been done to me or said to me, it only implies that I know what is morally correct. So in terms of the way that we choose to respond to what happened to us, we have to know the causes and the effects of how things has affected us in a way to where it tampers with our state of morality. The state that I was in, due to the fact that I knew that naturally I should not be made to feel this way about my parents, in spite of my rage and that deceptive convincing intelligence that was telling me that you're right and you have every right to feel this way because you know what is moral. However, if it was absolutely in clarity, I would not have been suffering so much. See, you can be you can walk around and think that you're morally correct, but what you have to also keep in mind to where, are you at peace in the same instant that you perceive yourself as being morally correct? Are you at peace? And if you're not at peace, then there's something that you need clarity on. In spite of how I was feeling about how my father treated me and my mother treated me, and regardless of what I was saying and how right it sounded, I wasn't at peace. I was suffering. And when you're not at peace, it means that you're in a state of suffering. And when the scripture says, but when the Comforter comes, the reason why the Spirit is called the Comforter is because you have obtained clarity, and therefore you have obtained peace, and therefore you're in a spirit that you are in a state of humility, which is comfort. So the whole thing is, in spite of your opinion or perception of what others did to you, you cannot allow it to affect you to the point to where it creates this evil sitting up inside of you based upon your perception of what is moral and what is immoral. You still have to be concerned about, well, how is what they did and said to me affecting me as a human being? Is it turning me into a monster? Has it altered me? Has it warped my understanding of things? And in spite of me at the time feeling as though my feelings were justified because I had that wicked intelligence in me telling me you have the right to feel this way, I still wasn't at peace. I was still suffering. So I knew that there's an area of my understanding that is not correct because I'm still not at peace. I'm still not at peace. So I wasn't comfortable with myself because the Comforter had not yet visited me. So once the Comforter had visited me, the Spirit had asked me, if you're so correct, why are you suffering? Because when you're correct, you're no longer suffering. You are no longer suffering if you are indeed correct. So what you have to do, you have to open up yourself more so past areas to where you're before not comfortable enough to open. You have to totally die to the I and the me and the ego and all of those things in order for real clarity to be given to you. Because as long as you are suffering, it means that you are at conflict. And as long as that you are at conflict, the Creator is able to do all things. However, the only way that you are going to obtain real peace in terms of the information that is going to be given to you, you have to be empty or halfway empty of chaos. Halfway empty implies a person who has shown a level of healing on every level to where there's room for correction. And that area of correction, that void, that vacuum, that area is based upon hope, and you're making yourself available for redemption and change and growth. That's all about. That's the area where the Creator is going to be dealing with you, to where you can be made whole again, to where yourself can be totally at peace and therefore complete clarity. But as long as you feel logically and emotionally, which is rooted in your hurt emotions, as long as you think and feel that the way that you're thinking and the way that you're feeling is justified, you're going to remain in that abyss to where you're in this dark place intellectually, mentally, and spiritually. And there's a whole, and you cultivate this internal doctrine that justifies you feeling and thinking as such while you're in darkness. So it's going to take that area that is of hope and redemption for the Creator to start there with you, so that the Creator can speak clarity to you, that you may understand a whole lot of areas. And I'm only speaking this way by way of what transpired in me when I was not too long ago in meditation, because my mind was acknowledging to the Creator, if I'm so right, why am I suffering? If I'm so right, why am I still angry? If I'm so at peace, why am I suffering? It's because that common understanding, there's too much I and me involved in terms of what happened, why did they do this? They were supposed to be this way, they were supposed to be that way. However, your individual journey is not like everyone else's. So the comparisons need to end as well. You can't compare your journey to everyone else's. That's the mistake that I made when I was coming up, and I was, as one of my other videos were talking about how I used to abuse my friend John Bill because I looked at his life. He had two parents at home, and I was jealous of my friend. So I mistreated him because he had what I wanted, and therefore he had what I felt that I should have, and I didn't have it. I was raised up inside of a home, as I said before, and everyone who was living in there were the subjects of failed marriages. And I'm looking across the street, and my friend John Veal was an example of a working marriage, and therefore I looked at his lifestyle as peaceful, while I felt as though mine was chaotic. And pretty much every night, my mind was reminded that I was in a chaotic atmosphere by what was going on in the home. Even when nothing was going on in the home, I was able to pick up the tensions that were in the house. So even though there were some people who were living in the home who were thinking that everything is cool right now, I was the child that was able to pick up the tension in the home, who always knew that things are not right, because why am I feeling all of these tensions and everything? And so I bring all of that up, not getting off subject. It's just that what you have to understand is that the only way that clarity is going to be able to come to you while your mind is in opposition, that little area inside of yourself that is open for correction, which is hope, and that opportunity of redemption, that's where the Creator is going to enter that in order to counsel you of where you are wrong and open up your eyes to some things to where peace is indeed possible. Peace is indeed possible, especially when you're dealing with parents who will take their evil doings to the grave. And instead of leaving a legacy behind after their death, that, you know what, I'm happy that my mother and my father, I'm happy that we resolved our differences before they passed on. I don't have those type of parents. And so the legacy that was left behind for me was to deal with what was done and how it affected me. And now I'm left with how it has affected me. And by the Creator allowing me to know that the way that it has affected me is not good for my soul and my spirit. And the moment that the Creator allowed me to know that, I submitted, and I just allowed the Creator to have its way with me. Because you can't walk around for the rest of your day suffering in spite of what happened to you. You have to allow the Creator to venture inside you. You have to totally die to the me. You have to totally die to the I. You have to totally die to what they did and what they should have did. You have to die to all of those things, because those things are not going to transpire, because these people have passed on. So that opportunity, die to that. Well, I never had the opportunity. Okay, accept it and move on. And now what you're left with is the opportunity for the Creator to deal with you one-on-one, because you can't walk around suffering anymore. You can't say, I'm cool. You're not cool, because there's a dual component to that. Because for you to respond to someone in that sense, you know how we say, I'm cool, it only means the reason why you're responding that way is because someone outside of yourself has asked you, are you okay? Are you okay? See, they see something else, but you say, you're cool. No, you're not. You're suffering. This is why it's very visual to other people that you're suffering, because obviously there's some type of mannerism that's going on with you, whether it's in your body language or whether it's in your language, that you're not okay. You are not at peace. You're suffering. You're suffering. That's what you're doing. And so you have to go into meditation and allow the Creator to counsel you and to deal with you. And so that's what I did. And I found out that I was in an abyss, and I was suffering because of what should have happened and what happened and what should have happened, and my impressions on and my point of views on what a parent is supposed to be and what a parent shouldn't be. And so when you're caught in between those two perceptions and those two point of views, and however your life is empty of what you felt should have been, and you're leaning more so on what didn't transpire, you find yourself suffering because you feel as though you've been cheated. However, there's a creator that can pull you out of that if you just allow it to transpire. The creator can pull you out of there. And so by me knowing that, after understanding that, I allowed the creator to deal with me. And because the creator revealed to me, you're suffering. You're suffering. You're not only in conflict, but because of your conflict, you're suffering. And as long as you're suffering, you're not going to be able to see clearly. And until you allow me to deal with you, and you decide to allow me to deal with you, only then will you have clarity. And so when that transpired, I understood that in spite of what they did and what they did not do, I still was suffering. And by me not wanting to suffer, I allowed the creator to deal with me, and the creator was able to deal with me more effectively because it's what I wanted. I didn't want to suffer in spite of what happened, in spite of what I thought was right, and in spite of what I thought was wrong. I still wanted peace. And so that's what happened. But my whole point is, whatever happens to us, regardless if we think it's right or wrong, it is our responsibility to not allow us to take us into such a dark place to where we imprison ourselves with anger, hatred, and animosity, especially anger and hatred and animosity that would never get addressed because your parents have passed on, or you have a living parent who is so self-righteous and evil. No matter what you say to him, he's not going to have that conversation with you because that conversation is going to force him to look at himself as a pastor. So if there's anything that was misunderstood, please leave it in the comments or send me an email like you guys always do. Now, the last portion of the beginning of when I was talking about the city of Chicago putting my father's name on a street in Chicago. The address is 956 West 119th Street. It's right outside Mount Zion First Holy Miracle Baptist Church. It says Reverend Levan Brable on the street. Now, as I always say, as a follower and therefore an agreeer with Yeshua when he says, my kingdom is not of this world. There's no way in the world that a man can say that he follows Christ's example of I am the way, the truth, and the life, and none can get through the Father except through my example. And said, if any man be my disciple, let him die to himself. You have to die to your ego, you have to die to your desires, and you have to die for the ambition to be at some level of fame, you might as well say. You have to die to all of those things. Because basically what he's saying is, if you want to be everything, You have to be willing to be nothing to this world. So, with that being said, here's a man who says that he's a follower of Yeshua's example. However, when the city of Chicago offered him a street that says Reverend Levan Brayboy Way, or whatever it says, he accepted it. But when Yeshua was talking to the politician Pontius Pilate had asked him, "Are you a king?" And Yeshua says, "Yes." He said, "But my kingdom is not of this world." Now, by him being a pastor saying that he's a follower of Yeshua, when the city of Chicago offered him his little fame and all of that as a street, as a follower of Yeshua and his example and living a life in the spirit, he was supposed to have rejected that. No. And if they would have said why, he should let him know. Because my kingdom is not of this world. My kingdom is not of this world. What you are trying to propose to me has no place in me, because I am dead to the desires, to the needs and the ambitions of this world. That's not going to add to me, but it will take from me if you give that to me and I accept it. That's going to take from me. That's not going to add to me, because there's nothing that I can, what you give me, due to the fact that what you give me, I cannot take that with me when this organism expires. And due to the fact that I can't take that with me when this organism expires, then what you think that you're giving to me is nothing. It's actually nothing. If I can't take it with me, then you're really not giving me anything. So it really doesn't mean anything. If I can't take it with me, you're giving me nothing. Now, someone in the email had asked me, well, since you feel that way, what about Dr. Martin Luther King Drive? Do you think Martin Luther King would have agreed to having a street named after him? Personally, I think he would have, because Dr. King, in spite of him having a PhD in theology and being a Christian preacher, even though he wasn't a disciple, he was a Christian. I believe he would have accepted that, and I think that he would have been proud of that. I even think that he would have been proud of these statues of him, which it's just idolatry. I mean, to me, that's equivalent to the golden calf, you know. But however, instead of him separating himself from Pharaoh, which represented the world, he wanted black people to integrate with Pharaoh. There was a time when I was coming up in Chicago, I recall people calling him Black Moses. And I'm like, why are they calling him Black Moses? This was after I had studied and became awakened. Why are they calling him Black Moses when Moses wanted the people of Israel to be, God told Moses to separate the people from Pharaoh. So what God was Martin Luther King listening to? Because if the divine creator wanted Moses to separate the people of Israel, or the people in general, from Pharaoh, separation. So we're dealing with a dual component again, separation and integration. So why, if the divine God wanted Moses to separate the people from Pharaoh, then what God was Martin Luther King listening to that inspired him to integrate the people with Pharaoh? What God was he listening to? This is one of the reasons why I said Martin Luther King, he would have allowed Pharaoh and therefore Babylon to honor him with a street. However, No matter what city you go to in America that contains a street called Martin Luther King Drive, even though this man taught nonviolence, you will never find a more violent street on any city in Babylon, which is America, that contains the most violence. The most violence. No matter what city you go to, you will see the most violence on Martin Luther King Drive than any other street within these cities. I will say that. So the reason why I bring all of that up is because when you are a agreeer, which is a follower of Yeshua and his message, and you really understand it fundamentally, you don't allow this government, therefore Babylon, therefore Egypt, to name one of its streets, put your name on any of those streets. Now people were asking me, so you mean to tell me you would have rejected it? Yes. Because it's all going to be destroyed anyway. In the last days, all of that is going to be destroyed. So that's not even thing. That's not anything that is even permanent. It's not that you can only take that with you. All of this is going to be destroyed. So it means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. It only means something to the people who give it to you. And if you are in a certain state of mind, it's going to mean something to the person who receives it. There's nothing that this government can give to me that I don't already have inside. Like Yeshua said, yes, I'm a king, but my kingdom is not of this world. There's nothing that you can give me that's going to make me feel more wholer than I am now. You can't give anything to me. And what I have inside, when this organism ends, I can take that with me. And because of that, I will be at peace. But no matter if someone gives you a street, we're honoring him. Who's honoring him? The government is honoring you and give you a little street that you. And so when he asked me, "Did you hear about it?" I said, "Yeah, I heard about it." "Yeah, you heard about it?" See, the reason why he had to ask me again is because I didn't fall into that crap that all of my sisters fall into. "Oh, that's so good, Daddy." They putting it up on their Facebooks and everything. These Christian sisters are putting it all up on their Facebook. These Christian followers of Jesus sisters are putting this up on their Facebook. They so proud. "Look, Daddy got his name on the street." If Daddy was a real follower of Yeshua, he would not have allowed such. He would not have allowed that. So that's my point. I thought that I would go ahead and explore that because I was asked that. But when you are a real follower of Yeshua's example, there's nothing that this government can give you that's going to make you more whole than the Creator has already made you. And as I said before, you can't take any of those things with you. You can't take any of those things with you. Those things have no meaning. They have no meaning. And the reason why they have no meaning is because after this organism expires and you stand before God, you can't pull out of your pocket a street sign. "You see, Lord, they named the street after me." That doesn't mean anything. It has no meaning at all. It doesn't mean anything. How you live and how you treat people has meaning, because how you treat other people is a description of how you treat oneself. That is what has meaning. Just because your name is on one of Babylon's streets doesn't mean that you're an honorable person. You're not an honorable person because Babylon honors you. Because I'm thinking if Babylon really knew who you were, they probably wouldn't honor you, or they probably would. Being disrespectful and dishonorable to all of your wives, yeah, I could see why Babylon offered you a sign to put on your street, and I also understand now why you received it, because you're not a disciple, you're a Christian. So with that being said, I'm gonna end this right here. And if there's any questions or if there's any comments, feel free to comment. Feel free to like the video or share it. And everyone stay human.